everybody, and welcome back to the I Don't Know Running podcast, where we share our experiences that make running fun and sometimes not so fun. I'm Lewis, and I'm a self-admitted lazy ultra runner who loves being on the trails again.
I'm Mitch, and I'm drawing a blank. I got nothing.
Man, I have been on the trails the last few runs, and I love it.
I hear you. It's been a long time since I've run trails. I just fall down too much. So
yeah, I think about that when I'm out there. I'm like, yeah, Mitch, well, you might like this. But he falls a lot.
I go a lot slower than I get. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do miss some of that because we used to run, because we ran out here a bunch of times too.
Yeah.
Not my favorite trail system. It's too loopy.
It's hard. It's a tough,
But running out at Luton or even State Game area, I used to love that. We'd go out there all the time.
Yeah.
Because it was pretty smooth.
Yep.
So I haven't been running any trail races lately, so I have not really had the reason to go out there.
Right. Yeah. No, and I'm not against road or asphalt or anything like that. And I'm not saying that at all. It's nice. Like we talked about, I don't know how many weeks ago it was now, but where my headphones went dead, and that changed things for me out on the road. I could hear like water in a creek, and it just opened up my senses. And I think that anytime you change things, it opens up new senses, and trails
so they
can do that.
They died completely or not, or just that day?
Just that day.
So what do you use for headphones?
Do you Shocks?
With the open ear.
Open ear, yeah.
I love them things.
Yeah, me too. I can actually run on the trail with those, and I hate to say this, but I have the volume way down, so I can almost barely hear the music. But I can hear the birds. I can hear everything.
I don't play music in mine though. It's usually like if I go out by myself and it's an easy run, I listen to my book.
Oh, I've done that too. I'll listen to podcasts. I'll listen to books. Sometimes it's music. Well, currently it's a lot of music. That's what I've been listening to. But I do books, podcasts, things like that.
I do like those for that reason, that you can hear what's going on around you. Yeah. Like somebody can come up on you and you can hear them. But I don't, like usually I'm running in a group, so I don't ever take them then.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I don't typically wear them on the trail. I want to be very aware of my surroundings with bikes coming up behind me. The nice thing about Upper Mac is, for the most part, you are going to be able to see, because of the way that loops in and out of itself so much. You usually get, I say usually because not always, but usually you'll catch bikes. You'll see them. I'm just paying attention. You'll see them like a few sections behind you. Like, oh, okay, I have a bike coming. They're going to be catching me in, I don't know, 5 minutes or something like that.
So have we talked about this before? Do you go with traffic or against traffic?
I think we have mentioned this. I go with.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's safer.
It's
because you can come up and all of a sudden you're like, whoa.
Yeah, that's true, especially around quick turns, bends, things like that. And you will see them. You will meet bikes less by going with.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, you're gonna see every bike if you go against traffic.
Every bike, multiple times. Yeah, if they're doing multiple laps, or you are. Whereas going with you, like today, there were bikes out there. Well, I'm pretty sure there were bikes out there.
You were going that fast, you were beating the bikes, right?
Well,
passing.
No, but
all right.
I didn't see one. Not a one passed me.
You didn't pass any either?
I didn't pass any.
That'd be impressive.
I have passed people out there that probably shouldn't be on that trail. I have passed a few people out there on their bikes, and I'm like, number one, there are easier trails, and number two, your skill set probably needs to be improved, because that is not an easy trail for bikes.
It's not like anything that anybody has out west, but it's not.
No,
there's
no.
But there's not a lot of rhythm to it. You really, it's
a hard trail. But anyway, I have been super excited to be back out on the trails. It just feels good. I don't know what it is. I just love running on the trails. I don't know if it's just breaking things up for me or if it just gets me excited again or what. But like today I went out, and man, I just wanted to burn. I just wanted to like run fast on the trails because sometimes that just feels good. It's tighter. It's, it just feels good.
You make engine sounds or anything like that when you're running?
Boom. Yeah.
Woo!
No.
Do you wear the socks that have the stripes on them then too while you're out there?
No.
Like the old school, you should.
The old school, like Adidas looking socks?
Yeah.
No.
And then Chuck Taylors.
Yeah.
And then when you go through the corners, you kick up your feet in the air,
Yeah. Throw both of them up.
That'd be sweet. We should record that. We should record you trying that.
Trying it. No, I do wear specific socks that try to help keep stuff out of my socks. Because, you can wear socks that have like a little bit of a flare to the top. Mine do not. They're very like closed. So keep debris out. They're a little bit taller. But
do you, it depends on where you're at. Do you wear gaiters or anything like that or not? Have you ever worn gaiters on the trail? It does make sense depending on where you're at.
Yeah, Hunter, I think it does make sense. The only thing is, I have found it depends on the temperature because they'll bake your feet.
They can be hot.
And I don't know if it's worth the trade-off of just stopping. Depends on, I guess, the length of the race. Man, I would rather almost stop 10 times because I have wore them on a hot day once, and man, oh man, it was
not comfortable.
No, they don't. Your feet, your shoes don't get to breathe as much.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, there's that.
Well, that's a good lean in. That's what I mean.
Yeah, that's right. I almost forgot what we were talking about.
Well, I know because we started talking about trail running.
Yeah, and it got me going. Yeah, one of the things I've been thinking about this recently because I think that there's a lot of good information out there, and there's a lot of information. Well, we are in an age where there's so much information being thrown at us, and you can Google and find something that says this is really good for you, and the same thing is really bad for you. And we're just in such an age of that I have been thinking lately, are we just complicating things way too much?
I asked all the right questions about trail running, like, oh, hey, do you do this, this, and this? Does that take away from trail running then at that point?
Yeah.
Like, hey, should I find my gator? Should I,
There is what's interesting is trail is one of the areas where usually you can strip some of that back and like, don't even take a GPS. Nope, just a pair of shoes and a pair of shorts and a shirt and you're out the door and gone. No headphones, none of that. And I do like to not have headphones on in the trails for the most part. I just recently have been like, I want to listen to this song or whatever. But yeah, I've just started to question, man, are we just making things way too complicated? And I guess the reason I say that is those that are listening, like we have everybody, every range listening to this podcast, and we have friends that are in every range of running, right? Like brand new introductory, I might run a 5K. But right now, I want to learn. I want to just run a mile. You know what I'm saying? And then we have people like Brian who have ran multiple 100s. He just does tons of long distance. You who does tons of marathons. We have friends that are super fast, and we have friends that just love the atmosphere and don't really care where they're at, right? So we have this huge range of people we know that run. And I guess the reason I bring it up is there's some people that some of that information would benefit. And that's great. If you are in a position where you want to improve and you want to put a lot of work in to improve, then that's great. That works for you. But that wouldn't necessarily apply to the person across the table. Like if they don't want to do all that work and they just want to run,
it kind of goes along with happy with where you're at too, though. We talked about that before too. And, like what's wrong with, I really agree with that. Like I'm on a mission right now But why does it have to be so difficult sometimes? Because I think the last few weeks, well, I was out last week because I was in Mississippi. Ran while I was out there. I think I took it more of a simple approach. I was hurting a little bit from doing a couple races in a row. So I did back it off, and I did take that approach. Like this past weekend, did whatever I did. I took a couple days off.
Wow.
I don't typically do that.
No.
But I hear you on that. Like, it's just, I don't have to run every day. Sometimes I want to, but sometimes it's okay to take it a step back and make it easier.
Yeah.
Simplify it.
It just struck me that I was out running and I
wanted a new watch.
No. I mean, no. Only if I were to do another 100, I would get a new watch. But I'm on this process of trying to improve right now, and that's by increasing my strides per minute to 180. And I thought, well, and I do want to do that. Like, I do want to see if this improves things, if it improves my results, if it improves like my times and things like that, because I have seen people do this and it does help. And I just started thinking, I'm like, at what stage in your running journey are you in? Does it make sense to do that or not? And so I just started posing the question to myself, like, man, are we just complicating things way too much? Because in all honesty, if you want to run, throw on a pair of shoes and just run. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to have a GPS. You don't even have to know where, like, a distance. Go run around the block. Like, go run around the block a few times and just get a run in. That is, it's in its simplest form. That's running.
Yeah, in the back of my head, all these things go through my head. Like, oh, what if I have a little twinge and all this other stuff that comes, especially at our age.
Yeah, well, there's that.
It's not always that simple though.
And that's where I think I started to draw another line, because we have
rabbit hole.
Well, we
do it to ourselves.
We talk with PT Sports Pro a lot about different training. And I think there's the training side and improvement side. And then there's the PT side that is more like, let's make sure you're healthy and able to do what you want to do. And if that's running, why does that twinge there? And let's fix that.
Right. And who's to say, like, a lot of times injury comes when you are training, like when you're going hard. So sometimes if you take it 10 steps back and you just say, I'm just running for fun.
Zone 2, that whole zone 2 training, where you're running 90% of your runs in zone 2, which is very easy.
But I found, we talk about zone 2, there's a sweet spot, because too slow is hard.
Well, yeah.
So there's that other side too, thinking you can't go slow enough. It's true, but there's a point that it's not your natural gait anymore. It's that slow, and I think you're doing more damage at that. Or at least it doesn't feel very good.
I think that would be more zone 1. Zone 2, you should be able to get into your natural gait.
Okay.
Like I'm running zone 2 quite a bit, and for me that's like 130 heart rate, maybe like up to like 138, something like that, 137, probably something in that area. Which for me that's a normal stride. Now that is an easy pace, as an easy run, right? But that should be. So I'm able to get in that. But what I'm struggling with, and that's what started to make me go, man, am I just making this too complicated? But not necessarily me, but in general, the sense of people running, because I was trying to hit 180 for my strides. And that was it's just a tension of like, I'm trying to learn how to run at 50. And it's a very simple thing to do. We do it from a kid.
I think about this. We have a friend in our running group that trained hard, getting ready for Glass City. Hard. Did not go the way he wanted it to go. And I know he was stressed. I don't know if he'd admit it right away, but I think he was running at the edge of his ability. Like he was getting tired. He was actually during training. Like he put it in. And, we talk about that. Depends on the day. Sometimes it doesn't go your way. And I don't think he did not get what he was training for. I don't know. I assume he's okay with it, but we haven't talked about it much yet. But man, so much work and so much stress, and so and you think about that, and there it is,
Yeah.
And now it's time. I don't know. I don't know how he feels about that. If he feels like maybe it's time to take a couple steps back for a little while, and then who knows, try again.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that those hearing this or that have listened to the podcast and we talk about all these things, training and stride, because that's the other piece, right? Like you can add all this gear. We've talked about clothing, we've talked about fuel, we've talked about stride or the footpods, heart rate monitors, your watch, different shoes like that do different things, a race shoe versus a training shoe, a trail shoe versus a road shoe. Your clothing that you're wearing and all of this stuff.
Shoes.
Speaking of shoes.
You can spend a lot of money on shoes.
Yeah.
That there is an expensive one. Not as bad as it could be though, but it made me laugh. I was thinking I brought these in for a reason. And then I'm like,
yeah. But that's up there. That's 2+, right?
Yeah. But like some of the Nike actual race shoes are more than that.
They're more than that and meant for less miles.
Yeah.
Like 100 miles, 4 races. I think that's what their main big race shoe is. Oh, did I lose you?
No. Yeah, well, it was kind of in and out. Like I must have. I
pulled it.
Yeah. It sounded funny.
The main Nike race shoe is only meant for like 100 miles or something.
I know. That's like
4 races. I think it's meant for like 4 marathon races.
That's it.
$250 to $300. Or is it more than that?
I don't know. But man, you see the YouTube videos where they take him and they press him down and watch him boing?
No.
It's crazy.
I was just going to look up what is I think it's the Nike Alpha. Is it the Alpha Fly 3? At $285.
Okay. Yep. And how many miles does it say it right on there?
Well, I don't have that.
Okay.
Yeah, but it is a that's not the one I'm thinking actually. What is this one? That might be a different one. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, it's up there near 300 and they're only meant for see low miles.
Everybody wearing them things now. Like you can pick them out. Like it's
who'd we talk to and they said 100%.
Well, that was the old dudes. That was Greg and Dan. Dennis. That's what Greg said, that 100%. He's in his 70s and he said, what is the best technology? You asked him that and he said shoes. Night and day.
Wow.
Like they do make a difference.
Now you said you felt those
bouncy. They were like, because I was going so slow pacing that I needed something. I just knew I was going to take a beating.
I have those a Treyu racing shoe, which is a carbon plated racing shoe, and I 100% can feel that. And that's a cheap, I say cheap. It's still a carbon race shoe. But it's only like $120 or I think it's regularly maybe $150 or something. But anyway.
Isn't that crazy? I'm so cheap. Well, in a way, like I'm looking at my shoes this morning. I know I'm getting on off topic a little bit, but I'm looking at my shoes and I got a pair of Hokas I've been wearing and I got 100 or 520 miles on them. I dragged my left foot and I got a little bit of an Achilles pain. So it must be making it worse. That heel, there is nothing but that soft rubber there. Like there's no hard rubber on it all anymore.
No outsole
it's just foam.
Oh.
And I'm thinking, well, they're Hokas. They're pretty cushioned.
Yeah.
Maybe I can get 100 miles out of them yet.
Time to change.
I should probably get rid of them.
Yeah, time to change.
Maybe one more.
Nope, time to change. Is this the replacement?
No, I'm gonna use these as race shoes, especially for pacing. If I'm going slower than I normally would go, I do have a pair of race shoes too that I've been wearing if I'm trying to go faster that are less cushion. But I didn't want to wear those if I'm going to be out there almost 5 hours. I mean that.
Yeah, I mean when you're used to running for 4 to 4, 4 plus or minus.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
It's a lot more.
45 minutes is a lot.
That's all more time on your feet.
2 minutes per mile almost.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a big difference. So totally understandable. Speaking of races, one of the things we did want to talk about on this race. So we're not totally. So anyway, yeah, we do want to say
this is a transition point.
This is a transition point, but are we complicating things too much? And I would just recommend maybe take a look at what you're doing, find that happy place and go with it because we can tend to make things way too complicated. I have stripped back my nutrition. Like, why? Like, why do I need it to be so complicated?
I did that a long time ago.
I think it's super important. Don't get me wrong. I think it's super important to hit your peak of what you can possibly do. Like, I think there's that.
I think you have to always throw in there. What's your goal? If your goal, like you, obviously, for me, I do races that I'm not going to try to kill it.
Right.
Because I'm doing too many.
Yep.
You can't make every race a PR if you do that many, multiples a year. So I have made my nutrition, like I don't get all goofy about it, but I have realized I need to get salt in. We've been talking about salt a lot more or, electrolytes. I don't worry about what's out on the course so much. I know that some of the stuff messes with my stomach. I have to use a portage on. So be it.
Yeah.
It's not the end of the world. It's going to be a slower race. And
on the other hand, if you're going for a PR, then you probably do want to take note and dial a lot of this stuff in from training to gear to nutrition to specific shoes and all of that stuff. Yes. And it can be just as fun no matter what you do.
Right.
But there is a sense that you can go, man, I need to strip all this back and just enjoy running again.
Well, that's why you get on trails sometimes.
That does help. That can help. But we do want to talk about a race today. We want to review another race because I haven't done much, but I did do one.
You did.
And I had a lot of fun with this because it was one that just kind of, our church helps. They have a thing called Tread, which raises money for different types of things that they help donate to. And so I said, well, I normally volunteer on the volunteer side of things for the race. I thought this year, you know what? I want to go back and run it. The last time I ran it was in...
Is it put on by the church or is it...
So Tulip Time.
So it's
Tulip Time in Holland. Part of the Tulip Time event, they have a 5K, 10K race. It used to be you could do the 5K and the 10K. And when I look back to the last time I did it, that's what I did. I did the 5K. I think Brian did it with me, actually. Or he did it as well. He did the 5K and the 10K also. And I had a decent, both of them, like a 19-something 5K. And then we looked it up before. What was it?
It was 40 hours.
40 minutes.
40 hours.
40 hours.
You took a nap. But no, 40 minutes and some change is what it was.
22. 22, and that would have been in 18. So 8 years ago. Holy smokes. Was that 8 years ago? Yeah. The math, right? That's the math, right?
No, 6. You said 18?
Oh, yeah, 6. Yeah. That math didn't math. That didn't seem right to me. Yeah, 6 years ago. So I'm 6 years older, but this is a 10K.
But you feel 8 years older.
Probably feel 8 years older.
Okay.
but probably
That's
only
fair.
act like a year older.
Well, you still act like you're 12. You never get past that.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
But anyway, I did go do the Tulip Time 10K. And I was happy. I haven't trained speed. I haven't done anything like that. I have had a solid workup this year, but I ran 40 minutes in 40 minutes, 50 seconds.
Well, that's pretty sad if you ran a 5K before it last time, and now
6 years ago.
Well, that was maybe it felt like 8 years ago. But if maybe that was your warm up, you didn't get a warm up this time.
Maybe. But I'll say this: first lap, because it's a 2-lapper. First half, 20-25, and I negative split by 1 second, 20-24.
It's pretty consistent. You're kind of that way though.
Yeah, very consistent. It was funny. So the race, and this isn't a true review. We just kind of wanted to talk about the race and I actually did a race because I haven't done one in forever.
But what is it? 5 miles away, if that?
Super close. I would say it's more like 10 miles away.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it was
double digits.
So it was quite a drive.
Quite a drive. I got there way early.
Well, traffic for Tulip Time can be dumb though.
It can.
So you really have to kind of watch it.
And I was strategically parking so that I could make sure I could get back out of town after the race.
Did you have fair food while you're down there?
No.
They should have you part of that race. You should be able to get an elephant ear
before you run,
before or during.
That should be. They should have a 10K race that is specifically the elephant ear race, where you do the 5K, you have to complete an elephant ear, the whole thing, and then do the next 5K.
You can get toppings on it too. So would it have to be with toppings or just because that would be heavy
to make the race competitive? You'd have to have it like even, just straight up elephant ear.
Yeah, and then you have to have puke buckets along the way too, right? But it's funny that you talked about Tulip Time because that was going on. And I was actually in town during Tulip Time. We were driving downtown on purpose at lunch to go have food truck food.
Yeah, we talked about that on the podcast.
Oh my gosh.
You got called out or something by a coworker that he's leaving or retiring or whatever.
Yeah, and that brought up fond memories because that makes me want an elephant ear now.
And Tulip Time's done, so
you figure out how to make them things.
But I did want to bring up in that race, it was funny. How, and I say this in all vulnerability, openness, and honesty, and a little bit of I need to check myself.
So what did you do?
Well, I'm running.
And you pushed some little girl down.
No, I didn't do that. I wouldn't do that, man.
Okay.
I'm running along and I'm doing the first of 2 laps because it's a 2-looper and
Is that with the 5K to start?
It is.
Oh, then it's tight.
It is. It's pretty tight. And it's so funny. We've talked about this several times. Line up where you think you should line up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lining up in the front-ish area because I figured I'm probably going to be in the top 20 to 30. And I was 16th. So I was 16th overall for the 10K. I don't know where my 5K time would have landed, but it doesn't matter. I'm probably in the front 40, 50 people. And there are several people in front of me. One had a stroller.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I'm like, first of all, they said strollers are discouraged or something like that. But if you are,
you may as well get right in the way.
All the way to the back.
Yeah, now, just get in the way.
Now they were running quick, but still it doesn't. But they weren't running faster than I was, and I'm like, why are you up there?
You didn't try to put a stick in the wheel or anything.
No. But anyway, they were running fast, and I'm not. It's just interesting. I saw several people like jumping in the front, and I'm going, you're not running that fast. I just know it. And sure enough, they're not. So that wasn't any, I knew they weren't running that fast. You could at any rate, line up where you're supposed to. So then we get going And this is the part I had to check myself because number one, I got beat
by the stroller.
No. But I was running along and I see a guy,
and he looks like me.
No, but I
not that fat.
I sized him up. I sized him up and went, "There's no way he's holding this for 10K." And I just the way the road was, I like went by him, and we right around the turn to go to the second lap.
Did you do this? That kind of thing?
No, I didn't give him any motions or anything like that to get behind me. I passed him, and I held a steady pace. So it wasn't like I passed him to pass him, right? Like I held a steady pace. It just happened to be how it worked out. I go about another mile and a little over a mile, and he passes me. And I'm like, what the? And I totally thought, there's no way. Like on the first lap, I thought that dude's killing himself. He's going to blow up, and he's going to be walking the last 2 miles. He passed me and he beat me. And
but he probably helped you get a negative split because you're like, I'm not letting that guy go. I'm not letting that guy go.
He probably did help me a little bit.
Because you're thinking that was your target.
Well, I was just shocked. I was like, because I was just shocked that he looked old. He didn't look older. I swore he was younger, and I did look it up. He is definitely younger. He was in his 30s. So I was like, all right, I'm in my 50s. So he should beat me. But it's just one of those things. I actually love the fact that he didn't look, I'm using quotations, like a runner. And he killed it. He ran a good race.
Well, you better start training for next year because that guy is going down.
Well, it was fun to not train and still do fairly decent 6:30-ish pace, something like 6:33-ish pace, something like that. I was pretty happy with that. That was pretty good. It would be fun. And the other thing is we've given 5Ks, 10Ks, whether it's on the podcast or off, kind of a hard time because they kind of suck because they usually hurt.
I know.
It wasn't that bad.
Well, I was going to ask you, why didn't you invite me to that run?
Well, I'm trying to think, like, why? Probably because you wouldn't do it.
I hate them.
You wouldn't have done it.
I run the same pace no matter what. So
true, whether it's a 10K or a marathon.
I'd run my marathon pace for a 10K, and I'd come in.
Yeah.
I'd be last.
Well, it was a lot of fun. And for those listening that want to do a 5K, 10K, I will say Tulip Time 5K, 10K is a fun time.
It usually does get a pretty good turnout.
It does. Like. And it is a fun race. Like you do run along the tulips. You do see just a ton of the tulips that are planted. It's a 2-looper. It's a party atmosphere at the start finish.
Well, was it just no tulips? It was just the green part this year?
No, there was actually plenty of tulips out. Oh, yeah.
Because that's always the game.
Of when they're going to blossom and be ready for tulip time.
Sometimes it's just there's no heads on them.
I know. There were some that were like that. Not on, I don't know if it was on the course.
Was it before the actual, was it the Saturday before Tulip Time happened though? Or was it after? I
think it was the second Saturday.
Okay.
The second weekend.
Yeah.
I don't remember, honestly.
They still had food trucks and you didn't get a elephant ear.
Nope.
That's all I know.
I don't go downtown.
Or a corn dog. Oh, those are so good.
Are they though?
Yeah.
Because they're better than the microwave ones, right?
Yeah. Because
that is my reference, is because
they're deep fried right there.
Yes. And so those probably are much better.
Yeah. They're fantastic.
We need to find an event, a carnival going on somewhere that we can go to.
And eat corn dogs and run.
Elephant ears.
Well, both. All of it.
Start with a corn dog, run, finish with an elephant ear.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the dessert. Yeah.
And a pull of sausage in there somewhere.
Oh, my goodness. Every mile?
Something. I don't know.
A 5K and at mile 1. So you start with a corn dog right at the start.
Yeah. Well, the corn dog is pretty easy. So it'd have to be the start would have to be the Polish sausage because that's kind of messy.
My goodness.
It's going to make a mess. And then you got to run with a corn dog. Then you got to run with a corn dog.
Run with a corn dog?
Because that's almost like race food. So it'd be good.
We'll have to find a 5K or something somewhere that has all of those things.
I'd be puking.
Oh my gosh. I don't want to puke, so I would just run slow.
And a beer. And there's got to be a beer in there
with
too.
A corn dog and a beer, or elephant ear and a beer.
Yeah.
You can soak the beer up in the elephant ear.
Yeah, something. Yeah. I'm in.
Well, it is fun. Check out the Tulip Time 10K. 5K, 10K. It is a fun race, fun atmosphere, and just an all around just good event. So be sure to check it out. And that's it.
I think you're right.
So go check us out on Facebook. Go check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Patreon. We have a few followers there. Carrie, Chris, and Mark. And thank you guys so much for supporting the podcast. Appreciate you guys so much. It does allow us to move the ball forward, and we will be doing that. So, share this podcast with somebody. Appreciate everybody listening, sharing, liking, and doing all that. But with that, that's going to wrap up this episode of the I Don't Know Running podcast. Be sure to tune in next time as we share more about what we just don't know.
Until then, happy eating. Running.